Hey, and welcome to another episode of Motors and Meats. In today's episode, I get to do the first real modification to my car that I've done since I've had it. If you remember, I bought it back in November, and the only thing I've done to it so far is change out the steering wheel. You can check out that video here where we changed it out to the paddles from the silly buttons that are terrible. I've got some new parts in from EMC2 Designs. If you're not familiar with them, go check out their website here. They make really cool adaptions for 991 parts to go on 997 cars. Today we've got the new front lip spoiler and splitters, we have the new side skirts, and we also have the new rear splitters that they make. The design looks like it should go on this car. It looks like it was meant for this car, and in addition to improving the look, making it more custom just subtly, it also adds that aerodynamic element that was only available for the 991. Now it's available for your 997 using EMC2 Design. And while we're doing this, I've got some spare ribs on the smoker. It's been a while since I've actually cooked on an episode rather than just having it on my Instagram or just like, oh look here, I cooked a big chunk of meat. So if you're here for the barbecue, we actually have something for you this time. So who is EMC2 Designs? They're based out of the Atlanta area, and they came into being out of a need for parts for these cars that just did not exist prior. If you're a member of Renlist, you may already be aware of EMC2 Design. The owner and founder of EMC2 Designs was looking for a way to customize his 997 when nothing was available. And so he just started modifying parts for the 991, and people loved the idea. It really caught on. People were wanting to send him parts to make those modifications and him send them back. So you can go to EMC2 Design's website and you can buy this for your own 997. Now they're doing 997.1 and 2, and they also have parts for other Porsches. One of the really great things about these guys is that they have extensive installation instructions. I'm going to do an install video today, but trust me when I say I watched through their own videos and I read through their instructions multiple times. So if you're looking at doing this, it's a really rewarding and doable DIY. Everything is extremely high quality. You probably saw that the actual spoiler is a Porsche original part. That is the 991 part with the part number and everything. And then all of the other custom made parts are very heavy material, high quality stuff. The first thing that we have to do is test fit those clips underneath the underside of the car. So I'm going to go ahead and lift up the front just a little bit to make it easier to work on. We're going underneath the front bumper to try out these pieces right here. They're all numbered. This is number 6. It goes all the way on this side, number 1 all the way on that side, and counts this direction 1 through 6. I have this little piece of trim, little tiny spoiler, I guess you could call it that, that's attached right here with looks like a T25 on this end and probably the other end. These pieces are going to clip into the slots where those are. There's actually not one under this end, so just the one screw, and then everything else just slots into place. So yeah, that was the case. All the slots that we need are under there and were attached to this piece. And once this one screw was detached from this side, everything from this end just, well, this last one right here just kind of popped out, and then everything needed to just shift to the driver's side, to the left of the car. And once it's shifted left, it could pop right out of the slot that it was holding into. So now for the test fitting, I've got part number 6 here. And I'm going to just see if everything lines up and goes like it's supposed to. I'm sure it will. Oh yeah. Oh, that's cool right there. Yeah. You just line it up and it just slides right into place like it's supposed to, and it leaves the slot here for the 991 spoiler to slide into. Very nice. Nice and firm, like that. Next up, we need to install this 3M material. This is called Trim Lock, and it's got a self-adhesive backer to it. And before we put that on, we need to make sure that this underside is really clean. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. The Trim Lock is designed to go from this edge right here, actually 10 inches further down, that we're going to leave extra to cover for the splitters that are going to go here. 10 inches down here, all the way across to the other side. Now, You're not supposed to be able to see this trim lock whenever you're looking straight down above it, so have it tucked back just a couple of millimeters underneath there and try to be as consistent with it as you can. And let's just check our length here. Again, we should have enough to hit the center here and then go all the way to the edges and drop off 10 inches past the end. And it looks like we actually have plenty enough right there. So I'm going to just start in the center and work my way out using this as my center point. I'm not actually going to cut the trim lock, I'm just cutting this backer right here so that I can separate it from the middle. Also, I'm not going to press it in extremely hard yet until I get it totally situated. That way I've got a little bit of wiggle room if I need to get it adjusted front to back. And I'm finding here just now that if I slide my fingernail along the front edge and let my thumb ride against it, that's going to allow it to keep a pretty consistent distance back. This is on a curve too, so think about that. You're not just stretching it tight in one direction. You're actually going to be moving with it around the radius of this bumper. Still keeping my thumbnail here as the guide. And there we go. I've made it to the end. I like what I've got, so I'm going to go ahead and press it in. And then we'll work it back this direction. For this extra 10 inches, it says in the instructions to leave the backer on it. So we want to make sure that we do that. When it gets to this steeper curve right here, you can't just slide because it wants to pull tight. So you have to ease it on just a little bit at a time right there. All right, so I'm going to stop it right there, and then I'm going to go back. I'm happy with the seal, so I'm going to press that along. And now this is going to give it a really professional looking finish once we get done right there. You'll have that as a gap stop. Now for the 997, the very end tab that you see on the spoiler here is not going to be needed. Again, this is meant for a 991. This is a 991 part, and that tab is needed for a 991. But in this case, we get to cut it off. Now we're to the point where we're going to install these clips onto the actual spoiler. Basically that's outside to inside, meeting in the middle. Starting out with number 1, and I'm actually reading this, clips number 1, 2, 5, and 6, those furthest outside ones, slide on in a single motion, and they only cover a single tab on this spoiler. The ones in the middle though are a little bit longer, and they actually cover 2 of them. So I'm going to show you how to do number 1, and that's going to be the same process for number 2, 6, and 5, and then we'll show you the other one that has a 2-step motion where we have to pop it in and slide in a certain way. These first couple are super crazy easy right here. Literally it just slides into place like that. So it'll be back and forth at first until we end up putting it into the bumper. There we go, that works. So yeah, 1 and 2 just slip into place like that. Then you've got 6 and 5. There we go. Sliding in like that. Next up, 3 and 4 are a little bit different. So we have this notched out segment right here, and that's going to allow us to get it popped into place where it needs to be. My instructions for number 3 show the spoiler flipped upside down. So the first step is sliding this portion right here on, like that. Then we keep sliding it until it becomes right here where we can push it in flush with the spoiler. Do you see how it kind of clicked in? And now we shimmy it back that direction, and now we're in place. You want this piece right here to butt all the way up next to this triangle. Same thing, just backwards. We're going to slide it into that one right there, and then push until we can get it all the way up right here, and pop it in, and then now it'll slide back into that clip right here. And we want to push it all the way until it engages against that triangle. It's actually not on the triangle, it's on the leg of the triangle, if you can see that there. But now all of our clips are into place. It wants us to put in clips number 1 and 2 first, and we'll work our way from this side all the way to that side. So we just kind of want to get into position. It's going to be best to be all the way underneath here so that you can see where these things are. Doing this for the first time is a little tricky trying to line this up, but I think I see exactly what it is that I need to do, and that is slide the front pieces in first, the front parts of the clip. Yeah. Okay, I just got the first one in. That was a little trickier than I thought it was, but the biggest problem I had was that the actual spoiler I had shifted too far to the side, because those clips do allow it to slide back and forth. You just want to make sure from the outside that this thing is actually in the right place. And now we can shift ahead here and do number 2. Number 3 right here, I'm going to have to slide it to that way to get it out of the way of number 2 to be able to get it into the grooves, because again, these things are sliding back and forth, and once it's slid in, then that thing will lock into place. Yeah, there we go. It just pops right in and then slides over. Nice. Same thing here. Number 4 is up next. There we go. And it slides in. I love how this works. You know this thing's not going anywhere once it's installed all the way here. That one's locked in. Looking back underneath here, you can see how the slots go. This just pops into the grooves first. Come on. And once you have it in the groove, then it will slide. It'll slot right into place. Oh, right there and over. There. And that's that. So next up is our locking clips. We have these little pieces here, and what that is going to do is it's going to go in right behind each one of these clip-on pieces, and that just keeps it from being able to slide or move out. So the spot we're looking for is right here on this one. This thing has one side that is totally flat and one side that has this lip extended. We want the flat side facing the rear of the vehicle. And when we do that, we want to put the right side in first, and then we want to shove it to the right, and then we want to press the left side in like that. And you hear that snap? There you go, that's done. We're going to do that on each of these, and then we'll move to the next step. Next up, we've got a couple of little blocks that we need to install right behind the number 3 and number 4 clip. And what these are supposed to do is, at high speeds, this is designed where it could flex down, and basically these are going to stop the flex and keep the air pushing in the way it needs to go. Here's your triangle piece right behind number 4, and here's the one right behind number 3. This thing is flush and smooth on this side, same on this side, and then to the inside it's like a mirror image. The inside has an indentation, and we need to make sure that this clip piece aligns with that as well. So this one here, we're going to slide it on this way, and then there it will catch. Oop, there we go. It catches right underneath there. Here we go. We're almost to the end of the first box that we've got for the front, and all we have left are these splitters. These are the actual splitters that are going to attach one under each side here, and we have a small bag with a couple of different things. In the instructions, when we get to this point, if you've ordered these splitters, then the instructions take you to their YouTube video, and I'll pop the link down in the description below. All of their installation video links will be in the description below. Okay, so now we're down to the point where we need to actually use this piece right here, and the idea is that this needs to align underneath here directly above and in line with the edge of the spoiler right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the amount that we don't need right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and press this into place, and then we will actually slide the splitter into place, and then do the little bit of drilling that needs to happen to get that done, and then the front end of this car will be done. We're going to pull this down just a bit so that we can engage this clip. All right, once it started sliding, it went all the way. There we go. And then back and forth, get it lined up till it's flush. And that is how that's going to sit. Sticky note to the rescue. So make sure that that's flush right where you want it to be. And then whenever that gets pushed into place, then come underneath here and mark your hole. Slide this guy back out, and then we drill it. There we go. New hole applied. So how this is going to actually fit in here, we have a well nut that comes with this, and whenever you tighten this down, it's going to swell out. Think of it like a boat plug if you're familiar with that. So first thing we want to do is slide this back into place. Ow. Get that up here. Get the rear one in too, and then get this nice and flush again. Actually, I think the instructions want us to put the well nut in first, so yeah, we'll do that. And then we'll slip this up. And I'm going to press it in first to make sure it's all the way in. There we go. And it wants me to add 11 full turns on this. So I said or until proper torque is applied. So we're just going to count 11 here. 1, 2, 11. Wow, 11 made it just as tight as it needed to be, and now that side is done. Let's knock out this other side. That's part one done. I think it looks really cool. The ribs are done, so let's see how they came out. Came out great. I used a new rub that I've never used. I used a new sauce that I've never used. The combination was really good. The rub was like a granular honey with a little bit of heat to it, and then the sauce was a Carolina vinegar based sauce. So that combination is just one of my favorite combinations, the Memphis versus the Carolina. I love it. Anyway, back to the car. We're going to knock out this side skirt next on this side. The other side will be identical. If anything needs to be shown on the other side, I will. Now this part has already been modified as needed by EMC2 to make this 991 part work on the 997.2. Lots of little changes here and there. Very nice craftsmanship. You can see how this has been cleaned up really well. Really good looking stuff. This comes with all the fasteners that we need, and I'm going to really advise that you go to EMC2's YouTube channel and check out their installation video of this because it is really nice detail. Next up, we've got a couple of T25s underneath here that we need to take out, and they're right in front of the rear wheel. Take a look. First one is here. Second one is here. And now we have some little insert pieces that need to go in. You see one of them is a bit taller than the other. The short one goes at the very front position, and all the thicker ones go all along back here. We have 4 locations that need these things, actually 3 that needs this one and 1 that needs this one. And then we have a couple other special looking adapters that go for the further back holes where we just took those screws out. So starting out with position 1, the shorter one, it's going to go in that front hole, and it's suggested we may need a rubber mallet. I'm going to try to press it in first. All right, good deal. And once it's in, it can rotate, and you want it to be this, you know, the lengthwise direction. So far this is much easier than the front. The front wasn't difficult, it was just a lot of steps and a lot of things I was unfamiliar with. This is pretty dang straightforward. The next few parts to the back, there's 2 on each side, and there's position 7 and position 6. These are labeled for P7 and D7, and that's North American standard. P for passenger side, D for driver side. We're going to start with the P7, and for this one we're using the small washer that came with it. So we're just going to slide this into place and then tighten it up. And this thing, it does have the ability to swivel around, but actually when it gets into the right position, that's whenever it's really going to fully seat itself. And once it's fully seated and tightened up a little bit, then we'll go ahead and snug this thing down. Now we move on to 6. And now the fun part, we actually get to put the side skirt on, and I figured out what the big washers were for. This is for the 1-inch screw and the washer that goes into the bottom of the side skirt and into these new grommets and things that we've put in place. The second side went noticeably easier, quicker, just because of having a little bit of learning curve. Just like with the front end, I think that took me about an hour and a half of actual doing things, and not counting the time where I was running back and forth to the grill and moving cameras around and such. But I think if I had to do the front end again, I could probably do it in 30 minutes. One thing to note, actually 2 things to note. I did need the rubber mallet to knock in one of those grommet replacement pieces. And I also realized that even though my car is not lowered, it is now lower with these pieces on here. And I almost got myself into trouble with the jack. But as I was easing it down, I realized that I was not going to be able to get the jack back out. So I slid a couple of 2x4s underneath the wheels. And just be mindful of that. Your car will sit lower, so if you don't have a super low profile jack, you're probably going to need to go ahead and start this process with the car sitting on some kind of blocks, drive up onto some 2x4s before you actually do the jack up. And now one last step is going to be the rear splitters. If you look up front here, since we have these side skirts, we need something to continue that on. So these new splitters for the back are going to come back around here, die out beside the tailpipe, and then finish off on this end underneath that that wheel well right there. Literally all we do is take loose 2 screws, and we pop on a clip at the back here, and then we hook the piece in, and then we add the screws back, and then we add the retaining clips. Right here, T30 it says, and then here's another T30, and then right here is where that clip is going to go. I'm told that this brace for the exhaust could be a problem. May have to adjust it to get it to have the screw go back into it. And there's the other one. You've got the little clip here, and these are mirror images of each other, so we need to look and see which way it's going to go so that we know that we've got it opening up the right direction. I think it's this one. Yeah, that's correct, because the back side of this piece right here is closed off, so we want the open end where it can receive the splitter. So that's just going to clip in right there. EMC2 has a really good install video for this, so definitely go watch it. The link's going to be down in the description. This is going to just come in and clip right in here, right behind the edge of the heat shield. And you can see it's got a little notch right here. We're going to slide it in just like that. right there, and that's done. So all we have to do with this is come back and hook this thing into place first. Then we just add our screws back. We do it nice and light first. We wiggle around, make sure everything is not in a bind. It's got a little bit of rubberized foam stripping right here, just like what we added to the other pieces, the trim lock. Looks like we need to dodge the heat shield with this one as well. Yeah, because that's going to go right there. So I'm going to push out the heat shield, and then that's just going to slot right into place right there. And that is that. Super easy. We're not going to tuck this in just yet. We want to get these screws started first before we do that. If you're asking yourself why in the world is there so much mud underneath this car, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you know why. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I live on a dirt road and drive a 911 because I'm a crazy person, I guess. I do have the off-road Cayenne. It is currently for sale. If you want it, let me know. It's been on Facebook Marketplace now for 4 weeks, so I'm ready to make a deal. Somebody throw out a lowball offer at me. All right, so that's started. That one seems to be started. I don't know if we're actually in there or not. Okay, we're into the brace now. So a little bit of wiggling, not really any trouble at all. Next, all we need to do is pop this piece in, and it flexes, so that's okay. We just flex it right into place, and now that part is done. Awesome. Now all we want to do is just make sure, like it said, that nothing is pinched. I don't think anything is pinched, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten these things down, take that gap out whenever we do, and then all we have left to do is pop on the retaining clips here. There we go. And that's taking out that gap. I'm not going to fully seat it yet. I'm going to take both of them up almost all the way, and then I'll fully seat them both at the same time. These screws, Porsche, on all of their fasteners, seems like as soon as you break them loose, they just turn freely. Really nice engineering. I've worked on American cars before, and everything is just so hard to undo most of the time, or to retighten, because it's so corroded or just not as well designed as these German cars. I know Porsche anyway. I don't know much about other German cars, but I do wrench a lot on Porsches because it's fun. There we go. 3 pounds is all it takes, so I'm not going to overdo that. Let's pop in these retaining clips. Retaining clips have got a little hole right here that align with the little tab on this, and this is just going to pinch over the inside of the bumper. There we go. Started at an angle. That makes sense, yeah. All right, and slide on until it snaps into place. Nice. Clipped, and it's done. One side done. Let's knock out the other side. We are done. Time for some beauty shots. I did it. I made it down my gravel road without tearing off my new parts. Hey, thanks guys for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm always lined up to do new things to the car, new adventures, new DIY things. So if you're into the 997.2, great. If you're into the 996, I also have lots of videos that you can watch on that, like this one. Thanks for watching.